You guys know how the One Piece world isn't afraid to be a fictional world, and that's one of the things I love about it. There's different type of beings, governments, pirates, all kinds of entities that are ridiculously strong in this universe. Certain characters, it sucks, but it's inevitable that you can't choose your parents. Some characters like Yamato has a butthole father that just so happens to be one of the strongest pirates in the world. But at the same time, she can't stand him because he's a butthole. But let's analyze how strong she is, shall we? One could say her genetics gives her an advantage a cut above the rest because she's an abnormally large being. Like normal sized humans like Luffy are way shorter than her, so one could say she has an advantage just from sheer size, on top of a lot of other things that make her strong. See, here's the thing, even though she can't stand her dad, the way she fights, there's some similar elements on how she fights versus how her dad fights. Like using this big old spiked baseball bat and crap, and doing similar name techniques like Thunder Bagua. I mean, being the daughter of one of the strongest pirates in the world could be part one of the reasons why she's so freaking strong, which you're going to see a lot of in this video. Her constantly getting beat up by her dad all the time, Kaido, one of the strongest beings in the world, is what technically made her so strong. See, here's the thing. There's like these special fruits in this universe. If you eat them, you get special powers. She's one of those characters that got her devil fruit by accident because she ate because she was just hungry, not because she was trying to actually get superpowers. Yeah, and the worst dad of the year award goes to Kaido. She was literally starving. That's how she ate her devil fruit. Yeah, that's sad. She ate the devil fruit by accident. That just happened to be a very powerful devil fruit, so I guess it worked out. There was this being she admired a lot to the point where she literally started role-playing as that character and started proclaiming to be that being's gender as well. I mean, for good reason. There was like this legendary samurai known as Odin who was ridiculously strong. It's one of those situations, whatever Odin is, she claims to be. So, like, hypothetically speaking, if Odin was a woman, she would be a woman. You know what I mean? Like, whatever Odin is, she's proclaiming to be. Odin just happens to be a man, of course. So she calls herself a man. She gets so wrapped up on literally being Odin to the point where she kind of forgets she's a female and will go into the boys' shower, making all the men have a heart attack, basically. Yeah, she takes her role playing a little too serious at times as Odin. Okay, silly jokes and stuff aside, let's analyze why she's strong. Okay, here's the deal. She has a devil fruit, which means she technically has different modes, her base form, her mythical zone devil fruit wolf-ish type form, and then she can like do a hybrid mode between her base form and this mode to look like this, assuming that these modes increase whatever her base stats is, increasing all her statistics overall when she transforms into this. All this devil fruit power on top of the fact she's an abnormally large being anyway, being over 7 feet tall. The dog fruit, the mythical type, a red mythical wolf. It is a guardian spirit of Wano. And the fact she knows these special techniques in this universe known as Haki. It's like you basically manifesting your inward spiritual energy. They call it Haki. This is kind of what helps you increase your attacks. It's like invisible armor around your limbs. It's not just your limbs you can put armor around, but you can put armor around the weapon you're holding to increase your weapon's striking power. It's really invisible armor, but this is how it looks. They animate like this for us viewers. In this world of One Piece, this technique is important to know to even become a top tier. Not to mention there's different types of Haki, different levels of it. There's certain Hakis that not everybody can learn, like Conqueror's Haki, but Yamato's one of the people that was blessed, and she knows like all the major Hakis, which makes her a formidable foe. Be able to make invisible armor to increase her strikes, you know. So while it is true that Haki is latent power that lies within everybody, that doesn't mean everybody's Haki is equal, even if they train hard. Some people just have better genetics or gifts. This ability known as Haki, it allows you to sense people's presence, spirit, aura. Another name for Haki is presence, spirit, aura. It allows you to sense other beings' presence so you can know what they're about to do before they do it, technically. Like this example pretty much explains it, how he knows exactly where this creature is going to hit. Yamato has this type of Haki, basically super senses. This is something Kaido can also do because, you know, that's her dad. She can do this thing known as Conqueror's Haki, knocking people out without necessarily having to touch them if their wills are too weak. They even call it here, Supreme King Haki. Yeah, Haki can kind of get crazy to the point where you can actually hit people and cause internal damage to their body. Like in this occasion, you can see his fist not necessarily having to completely touch the boulder or rock. There's like multiple Hakis that can hit you without your skin actually having to touch the opponent, because advanced ornament Haki can hit you without necessarily touching you to cause internal damage to you this way, but also, okay, you see this Conqueror's Haki where you can knock out people without touching them. You can actually use this same Haki that can knock out people without touching them in your weapons or fists to increase your strikes even more, to hit people without necessarily touching them, like Yamato implies she can do too. So when you add all this invisible armor with the fact that she's pretty big and tall, her muscles are strong, and she has different modes she can transform into to make her strikes harder, all this put together is what makes her such a threat. So think of her like this. You know, she got this normal armor that increases her strikes, and then she has Haki attacks that can hit you from the inside, or hit you in the inside of your body. And then she has Haki, Conqueror's Haki Infusion, to where she can hit you from very far away without even necessarily, like, yeah, just Haki stuff gets crazy. The writer doesn't even necessarily tell us when a character's using Conqueror's Haki anymore, because that's how crazy it's gotten. All these different Hakis don't need to be explained every time they fight, right? It should be just kind of understood. Once you learn Conqueror's Haki, that should be your go-to at that point. Like, here's the thing. You guys know how in One Piece there's a whole bunch of different rankings. It's stated here, for example, the highest ranking fighters. So let you know the rank has something to do with how strong certain characters are. In the Navy, when it comes to the Marines and the power levels, sort of, most of the time. You know Yamato's strong when being's at the very top of the food chain in the Admiral rank. This Admiral known as Green Bull, for example, a being that can turn into a forest. Yeah, I'll get back to that later. But yeah, he said her Haki was strong. So that just gives you perspective. Thanks to having one of the most rarest devil fruits ever, she can use different elements, more than one element, like the element of ice, when she's in her hybrid mode, of course. There's implications she can make elemental use and make armor around her body for defense. She can hit hard, but she can do long range attacks. We don't really get to see her lift much. We know she can hit ridiculously hard, though. She can hit hard enough with her baseball bat, basically, to break this giant piece of statue off. Yeah, that simple. Large doors, we see her actually bust through. Wooden walls she can strike through. Just with the shockwave of her swing, she can just send people on their way. And just because you have thick shields doesn't mean her strikes can't just break right through them with her striking power mixed with Haki and all that good stuff. It's obvious that thick rubbles or boulders like this, she can just strike and break them apart, even if it's this many. I mean, no duh, brick wall structures like this is a no-brainer. Of course, she can break through stuff like this with her hits with ease in her base state. To prove it even further, she's in her base forms here, using Haki, of course, amplifying her strikes from long range. We actually see her hit this giant with a roadhouse. One-shot fashion, even though this thing is way bigger than General Frankie, this being is as big as certain houses. Meaning with a simple long-range hit, she can launch things that are the size of houses or multiple houses with ease with her strikes, or trembling a whole building, or simply making one fall over, but this still isn't nowhere near the tip of the iceberg yet. The best way to understand Yamato's might is the beings she's fought, like one of the beings she's fought in the past, like Ace, who has literal blasts that can get so wide it engulfs like half a nice chunk of the island with the blast radius of his flame, clashing with this other being known as Blackbeard, the darkness. Yeah, Ace is forever making these dang near close to island-sized fire type of attacks, and he can use this stuff offensively and concussive force-wise. And this can give an idea of Yamato's might. We've actually literally seen her clash blows with a being that uses fire blast, and she's clashing with this with her strikes in her base form, meaning she's clashing with forces that could level a nice chunk of an island, basically. Her swipes should easily be way harder than a whole bunch of buildings smacking you in the face at once at this point. Like, here's the thing. One Piece has a ranking system, right? The higher you are, to closer up here, the stronger you are when it comes to how hard you can hit and stuff. They even kind of imply here, the higher rank you are, the more dangerous of a fighter you are. So it kind of makes sense. Like, they were talking about the admirals here, so your rank kind of does matter. There's some exceptions, of course, but majority of the time, your rank kind of shows how strong you are a little bit. Like, there were legit beings that used to be rear admiral rank. Not the highest of the highest, but still decently strong. We get to see more writer intent on how strong she is. She's in her base state here. We see her kind of pushing beings like this on the ropes, beings that used to be a rear admiral. You're probably wondering why this is impressive. Well, here's the thing. There's beings that are not even nowhere near that rank. I'm talking about beings way down here in captain rank. Even though my boy Kobe's way stronger than your average captain, even beings down here can still, via Haki and everything put together and training, no devil fruit, by the way, he can produce punches that can level or hurt beings that are literally island people, beings that have literal arms the size of a mountain. It was even stated on panel, you blasted that big thing that was as big as a mountain into smithereens, beings that are not even nowhere near the rank that Yamato was fighting, a being that used to be in the Marines. So that pretty much guarantees if Yamato was in that same situation and had to strike that island thing, she'll be able to blast the mountain-sized structures apart too with her strikes in her base state. Keep note, this is not even her going all out, and she can hit with mountain trembling power. Multiple mountains could fall in her wake. Strikes that could delete a couple mountains, you know, in her base state so far. Based on stuff like this, in her base state. Fighting a being that used to be a rear admiral. I mean, you got occasions where an admiral of the Navy said her Haki is strong. Beings way up here in the hierarchy, beings up here with the top tiers, admiral rank. So I definitely think whatever these beings down here can do when it comes to raw attacks with Haki, she can do better. It just makes sense. I mean, one of these higher ranking beings, Yamato, with haki and her strength and everything put together, hit this being so hard. He said, ouch, ouch, owie. Like, it lets you know how strong she is, even compared to admirals. She still can hit super hard. Another good way to understand Yamato's might is, of course, Luffy, Luffy was fighting and clashing with this strong fighter known as Ulti. This being is a lot stronger than you probably would expect. Luffy straight up stated that she's pretty strong. And this guy was about to go to gear 4th on this girl. You want to know why this is impressive? Because Luffy, in earlier arcs when he was weaker, gear 4, his punches can fold a nice chunk of multiple towns worth of buildings and such, or a nice chunk of Dressrosa. And despite Luffy thinking that he needed this to fight her, guess who's the one that actually one-shot knocked out this being? Yes, the girl I've been going over in this video with a Thunder Bagua, Yamato. You guessed it, in her base state. And if this is not enough proof for you, it literally shows her bleeding, and she actually gave her props on how hard she hit. I mean, she's already way past mountain shattering and trembling at this point. But when you actually see her clash hits with Gear 3rd Luffy, when Luffy blows up his fist with haki and stuff, her strength and everything her haki put together was able to block it to show she's not no pushover, even against the main character. And this is the main character after he went through crazy training and learned new haki and stuff. But it should be noted that Luffy wasn't trying his hardest. But yeah, she wasn't either because she didn't even transform. So yeah, like it's literally almost hilarious how many times past mountain shattering level Luffy is. Luffy literally broke the head off a mountain-sized entity here, for example. And that was an old arc when he was weaker. Like, I want you guys to look at this perspective. Beings like Luffy back in the day was able to one-shot giants that are this big, right? And don't get it twisted. This giant is stronger than you think because this giant was able to overpower 10,000 tons. And he's literally nothing compared to Luffy. Luffy used a normal old punch. Luffy used a super strong punch against Yamato. Like, you guys get the idea. Like, you see how this giant mountain man got sliced? If she was in this arc, she could do this too. Like, you get the idea. Like, it's just how the power levels work. And when it comes to this being again known as Ulti, we see her blocking attacks here. She's forever blocking attacks and them two fighting. Yeah, it's just a common theme. Oh boy, now this is where we get into the craziness. Okay, you already know how Kaido is one of the strongest men in the world, the world's strongest creature, of course. She's still in her base state, and of course with a combination attack from Luffy, working together, they send Kaido freaking flying and implying to be able to damage him, even though she's not in her highest form here. Like, this is incredible. Like, you see her blocking him here, even though Kaido's in a higher form. Okay, so Kaido, there's like a common theme in One Piece when two top tiers clash, they split the sky. Kaido is such a being. Like, this is where the madness begins. There's been people on YouTube, all kinds of websites that calculate how much force it would be needed to split the sky. Because think about it, if a character's way on the ground and their hits create such a crazy shockwave to where stuff way in the air can feel it, stuff from that far away can feel it, or part this much of the sky, they calculated that the power needed to do this, you would need power equivalent to a leveling multiple continents. I know that sounds crazy, just splitting the sky can do all that, but apparently that's what the calculations came out to. This technically should apply for Yamato because she's literally clashing with beings on this level of power. With her haki and her super strength, everything put together. I mean, she hurt this being in her base state right here. So it just lets you know that she's supposed to be up there. And this is where it gets interesting. Every time in One Piece when a character clashes and they create this sky splitting effect right here, there's like an implication of Conqueror's haki infusion to where they're hitting each other when they're not necessarily touching each other. That's usually how Conqueror's haki works. Notice how Luffy is using this. Their attacks are not hitting each other. This implies Conqueror's haki. The Supreme King, like their attacks are not hitting. Same on occasions like this and like this. They even mentioned he's not touching them. In her defense, this is when she is powered up to a higher form, her hybrid form, on top of this haki. Look what I just showed you about Luffy and them not touching each other. And look how her attacks look. Like, this looks very similar to Conqueror's haki infusion, implying just like how Kaido can clash with other top tiers and split the sky, there's writer intent and narrative to imply that she should be able to do this sky splitting crap too with her strikes. You know, Conqueror's haki infusion, haki manipulation to increase their strikes type stuff. Meaning in this hybrid state, she would be able to produce force equivalent to the force needed to sink an entire city if need be, and way worse if we're to take those calculations serious. It's one of them situations where if you believe Kaido can destroy multiple continents with their attacks and strikes, she should by default be able to do that too with her hybrid mode. Like, it's one of them things where we do believe Kaido has the advantage, but she's not that far off. She can at least hang with him quite a bit. Occasions like this implying she should be able to duplicate that sky splitting crap, clashing with him, implying she can at least damage him And when it comes to her fighting speed, she's extremely fast. She can fight and react to Luffy at gear second. Luffy is a being in his base form, can easily dodge beams of light, partly thanks to his precognition, one could say, because of super senses, haki, observation haki. This gives you an understanding of how fast Yamato has to be able to compete with these beings like Luffy in speed. Like, Kizaru's a being that literally is made of light. These lasers are based on him, and that's what Luffy dodged. And Yamato can keep up with Luffy's speed. You see how that goes? You guys know how Kizaru is literally a being that's actually made of actual light. These robotic being pacifista beings are copying his light beam laser abilities that Luffy has to dodge in his base form, but he used a higher form against Yamato, and she had no problem reacting to his fighting speed still, implying that she has to be somewhere in the speed of light, speed, combat type speed range. Like, this is just a given. Just being nice, she has to have at least light speed reactions, probably way faster though. That's not even counting her transformations. That would technically make her even faster, wouldn't it? But everybody that's just about going to do it, how strong do you think she is in her hybrid form? I definitely think she could definitely sink an entire kingdom or city. In her hybrid form, I definitely don't see no reason on why she wouldn't be able to split the sky with her haki mixed with her striking power. I mean, if it's really true that you can cause damage to multiple continents or destroy multiple continents based on those calculations, if they were true, that she'd be able to crack or do catastrophic damage to a big chunk of the moon or split the moon down the middle or some crap if she could really cause multi-continental levels of destruction, you know, but that's just me. What do you think are the limits of her power? Do you think she's as strong as admirals, or do you think she can hit harder than admirals? I want to hear your opinions below. Do you think Yonkos are stronger than admirals? Because she was definitely hanging with her dad. But I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think she has the raw power to split the sky? She has Conqueror's Haki. She can do Conqueror's Haki infusion. I just don't see why she wouldn't be able to do this stuff. And she clashed with beings that can do this sky-splitting stuff. I mean, I look at it like this. When you got beings this high up in the food chain saying your Haki's super strong, I mean, this high in the hierarchy, beings this powerful, I definitely think that sky-splitting stuff makes more sense with her strikes being able to do this the more we deep dive into her. I don't see no reason why she shouldn't be able to sky-split if she has Conqueror's Haki fighting top tiers like Yonkos, even Admirals, saying her Haki's strong. Do you think she can hit with the force equivalent enough to level multiple continents? I want to hear your thoughts below, but before I get going, respect Yamato though. And I gotta say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect her. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.